Let's get into it.
Cause I ain't leaving alone. Feel like I could be out of space. We both know that we're grown. That's why I wanna know how many drinks would it take you to leave with me? Yeah, you look good and I got money, but I don't wanna waste my
Hi, welcome to my bubble where we do a little bit of adulting, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of creating. So, we are back with another spiritual studies. You can see by the title, we are doing a spiritual studies on Akashic Records. I believe I've known that Akashic Records are a thing for some time now. Did not know too much about them, but I believe this was sparked and or ignited by one of the readings I was watching, and they were talking, well, they weren't talking about me, but in the context of me and my life, and the things that I have been going through, I'm in the process of going through and working through, all of those kinds of things. I forget who it was, I forget what reading it was, but they were like, you gotta do it, like you have to push through, you can't let your insecurities get the best of you, because like this is, you have to do it, power through. This has to do with your lineage. This has to do with, like, we're talking about your Akashic Records right now. And I was like, no pressure. But that made me decide, let's get into Akashic Records and see what they're really about. So, I looked at 3 different sites, basically to learn about Akashic Records, see what they're about, see what more detail I can get on them. I looked at Wikipedia, Britannica, and something called Well and Good. I'm pretty sure it's just a blog, but they were talking about it, so I read it. And pretty much, I don't know why I keep doing that. My hair needs to do what it needs to do. All 3 basically said the same thing, but the reason I included the blog in everything I'm about to tell you is because, as much as it did say the same thing as Wikipedia and Britannica, it also included like a question and answer with, I don't know if she's technically a medium, but it included a question and answer with a, quote, certified Akashic Records reader and a breathwork specialist. And she kind of, in the blog, she discussed her different experiences and different readings that she's done for people in reading their Akashic Records and blah blah blah. So, but we'll get there. Let's start with good old Wikipedia. How does Wikipedia describe or define Akashic Records? Wikipedia says that in theosophy, I believe that's how you say it, in the theosophy religion and anthroposophy philosophical school. Try and say that 5 times fast. Start over. In the theosophy religion and the anthroposophy philosophical school, Akashic Records are a compendium, which is compendium. Sorry, Akashic Records are a compendium, which is just it's a fancy word for a big collection of information. So Akashic Records are a gigantic collection of universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent to have ever occurred in the past, present, and future in terms of all life forms, not just human beings, all life forms. Theosophists believe that Akashic Records are encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the mental plane. First of all, can we just acknowledge that my hair is long enough for me to be sitting here playing with this right now? Random sidebar. Apparently there are anecdotal accounts, but no scientific evidence for the existence of Akashic Records. Akasha is the Sanskrit word for ether. I don't know how you would technically pronounce that. Ether, or aka sky, or aka atmosphere. It was introduced to the language of Theosophy by Helena Blavatsky, a Russian last name, because Theosophy was created in the late 19th century by some Russian folk. I don't remember all the details because that wasn't the point of the study. But, and introduced by same person, Helena Blavatsky, who described it as a sort of life force, but also as, quote, indestructible tablets of astral light, end quote, recording both the past and future of human thought and action. But Helena never actually used the word Akashic. Sidebar. When I saw that Akasha was a Sanskrit word for blah, 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 I was like, damn, do I need to learn Sanskrit? Like, is Sanskrit where Latin comes from? Like, because when I was reading Think Like a Monk and Jay was going through all the Sanskrit words and applying it to all the philosophies and the perspectives, really. As I was reading the first and second time, I was like, I need to make a glossary of all these Sanskrit words. 1, because add it to my fun fact bank. 2, because expand my vocabulary. And 3, because all language evolves from each other anyway. So if Sanskrit is where Latin comes from, and I really want to learn Latin anyway, I was like, I can be ahead of the game here. So when I saw Akasha as another Sanskrit word, I was like, add it to the dictionary, you know? Let's keep going. Wikipedia says, the concept of Akashic Records was disseminated by Alfred Percy Sinnett, who was citing Henry Steele Occult in his book. In 1881, Henry Steele Occult wrote, quote, Buddha taught 2 things are eternal, viz. Akasha and Nirvana. Everything has to come out of Akasa in obedience to a law of motion inherent in it and passes away. No thing ever comes out of nothing. End quote. So now in 1899, C.W. Leadbeater identified the Akashic Records by name as something a clairvoyant could read. In 1913, Leadbeater goes on to claim that the record and history of Atlantis and other civilizations, as well as future societies of Earth in the 28th century, are also written in the Akashic Records. Crazy. I was like, that actually makes perfect sense because yes, Atlantis is a myth to us, but like, imagine you could read the Akashic Records and actually learn the whole history of Atlantis. What was it? Was it Aquaman where they kind of sort of touched on Atlantis or the history of Atlantis as far as it being a prospering civilization, and then they did something and then it sunk? I think that was in Aquaman. Anyway, let's keep going. Wikipedia says in 1927, Alice Bailey wrote, quote, the Akashic Record is like an immense photographic film registering all desires and earth experiences of our planet. Blah, 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 blah. Only a trained occultist can distinguish between actual experience and those astral pictures created by imagination and keen desire. I was like, only the blessed beings can read it. Got it. Because not everybody is clairvoyant, not everybody's clairaudient, not everybody, I forget the other ones. But there's one for each sense, basically. Sidebar. I been felt like I was clairvoyant, and but I think the part of me that taps into it visually was scared and shut off. Because one time in high school, was it high school? I'm pretty sure it was high school, because I was in high school when we were living in that house. Bro, I'm up, I'm a night owl, so I'm up all times of night. I went down the stairs to head into the kitchen to get something, just minding my business, and it had to be like 11:30, something like that. It had to be sometime after 10:30, 11 o'clock. If my mom's not already asleep, she's in bed, so I know for a fact it's not her. But it doesn't matter. But so I'm going down the stairs, headed to the kitchen. It's nobody in the house but me, right? So there's nothing to be worried about. I'm going down the steps. Right as I'm about to round the corner, this cowboy walks. It was a being of light, but it wasn't being of light. The only thing I can compare it to, so you're gonna get what I'm saying, is like a ghost, right? So this cowboy ghost walks right past me, the way that nearly headless Nick walks past everybody in Harry Potter. And I literally say walked because he walked right past me. He did not float. He walked right past me. I saw his hat. I saw his thing. I saw his not the cowboy belt, but I could like hear the boots, or I kind of turned because it shook me, and because he literally walked right past. Like, I would have thought if I didn't move, he would have walked right through my shoulder type shit. And I turned, so I like looked and saw his full outfit. I'm like, and that shook me. And for a second, I thought I was tripping because obviously I turned around and it's the house that I know it to be. So I was like, huh? So ever since then, I haven't visually seen anything, but it's basically all my other senses were heightened at the same time. So I'd be intrigued to tap back into that. Plus, if I activate my clairvoyance, like, I can read the Akashic Records, say less. Yeah, and then my last note from Wikipedia basically says, Rudolf Steiner, an Austrian theosophist and later founder of anthroposophy, used the Akashic Records concept mainly in a series of articles in his journal Lucifer Gnosis, written between 1904 to 1908, where he wrote about Atlantis and Lemuria, which are topics related to their, basically to their history and their civilization type shit. I was like, okay. Basically, it's Akashic Records equal comprehensive, not dictionary, but comprehensive history. Now, then we go to Britannica. Britannica basically said all the same thing. Britannica said in occultism, which, don't freak out, occultism is just various theories and practices involving a belief in and knowledge or use of supernatural forces or beings. So occultism really just means you believe and practice in the supernatural. Okay? So Britannica says, in occultism, a compendium, same word, add that to your dictionary. In occultism, a compendium of pictorial records or quote-unquote memories of all events, actions, thoughts, and feelings that have occurred since the beginning of time. So same thing. It's one long history. Britannica says that Akashic Records are said to be imprinted on Akasha, aka the astral light, which is described by spiritualists as fluid ether existing beyond the range of human senses. Bless. Meaning not just anybody can read it. Absolutely wonderful, because those that control the past control the future. If you know, you know. Britannica says the Akashic Records are reputedly accessible to certain select individuals. For example, a spiritualist medium who conducts a seance. I didn't like that it said that, because, like, why was that your example? Because seance? I mean, seance doesn't necessarily have to be attracting the enemy, but that's what people synonymize it with. So, is that a word? Synonymize? Can synonym be a verb? Whatever, you get the point. That's what people equate seance to, is calling on the enemy. So they could have used a better example, but it's Britannica, so they know seance. Whatever, let's keep going. Akasha allegedly transmits the waves of human willpower, thought, feeling, and imagination, and is a reservoir of occult power, an ocean of unconsciousness, to which all are linked, making prophecy and clairvoyance possible. Period. Basically, that said to me, because you can access all your thoughts, feelings, intentions, imaginations, like ideas, and everything through this astral light or this astral record, if you tap into that, you can visualize the prophecies, or you can you can utilize your clairvoyance. I was like, period. I like that. I don't know why, but that in particular, was it that part? Yeah, I believe so. Between those two, I started thinking of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I believe it was book 2. I don't really remember when it was. Let me not lie. But the episode where they met was he a professor? The professor in the desert, and then they went to the library. I was like, damn, so were those like Akashic records, but tangible rather than astral and, in the mental plane? But it already added the mental, spiritual aspect, because the library was thought to be a myth, and the library was because of how they had to access it. If you saw Avatar: The Last Airbender, you get it. If you didn't, the analogy doesn't matter anyway. So, now let's get to Well and Good, what I'm calling a blog, because I think it's a blog. They say that they mention Akashic Records as far back as the 19th century, but very specific information is very limited. Krista Rauschenberg is the name of the certified Akashic Records reader and breathwork specialist who goes on to describe her experiences. Now, in layman's terms, which is also why I decided to keep the blog as a reference, basically, Akashic Records equal an energetic library of info that contain the details of your soul and its journey spanning past lives, present incarnations, and future possibilities. Plain English, right? Duh. Britannica gotta make it sound fancy. Compendium. Who the fuck spell compendium? I mean, it's spelled the way it sounds, but like, no one just knows that word off the top of their head, It's an energetic library of information that contains details about your soul and the journeys it has taken in the past, the journeys it's on right now, and the potential future possibilities that it will endure. Period. Akashic Records. Love it. The Akashic realm is said to be the highest energetic realm and holds every sense, thought, every action, every experience throughout your entire soul's journey. That's fire. And me, that piqued my interest and like made me go, ooh, because I know for a fact I was royalty in one of my past lives. Like a born and bred queen. Like, not that I married into it, I was a queen in my past life. And it would be fire to learn about that existence and that past life. But I was just going to get a regression and go about it that way. So, come to find out, people can read my Akashic Records too. I don't know about that though. I feel like that's real personal. I don't need you accessing my history, But that's just me. Apparently, accessing your Akashic Records is speaking directly to your masters, teachers, and loved ones. Masters are a body of energy that have been with you since the inception of your soul. I was like, okay. Reading the Akashic Records can provide understanding or guidance, which can be healing, but it ultimately elevates your vibration to a point or a place where you can reconnect with your soul level truth, which to me means your purpose. I was like, period. Say less. Quote, the Akashic Records exist in different energetic realms. It's not a physical thing. It's something that you have to experience. I'm all about experiences, okay? You will see in all of my social media bios, die with memories, not dreams. Let's get into it. Also a quote from the blog. While in the records, this is something Kristen Rauschenberg. This is something Krista said when discussing her experiences. While in the records, I can perceive the potential of a person I am reading. The person I am reading then resonates to this higher frequency and becomes aware of his or her possibilities by adhering to this quickened vibrational level. Period. Oh, excuse me. Krista also states, with the proper training, anyone can open the records, but there is no prediction of your ability to understand and or interpret them, which falls in line with everything else. Same thing with aliens, same thing with just some other spiritual stuff. Like, first of all, if you're even one of these selected ones who is able to read it, shout out to you. But just cause don't mean, just cause you can read them doesn't mean you know how to interpret them. Understanding what you're reading and being able to read it are not the same thing. Yeah, and then Krista just mentioned that she went through extensive training, obtaining a bunch of certifications and the different kinds of certifications that she got. She says it's also possible for you to read your own Akashic records, but reading them yourself is normally harder than someone else reading them. She said, quote, though I have this access, I need people to give me information and help me see what I can't see. Perspective. Love it. Which also resonated with me because the universe is very like, everybody else knows you're that girl, but you don't treat yourself like you're that girl. Like, why don't you see yourself as that girl? So I was like, damn, am I going to do that with the Akashic Records too? Anyway. Also, apparently some people's Akashic Records are easier to open than others, but that usually depends on how open someone is and how familiar they are with his or her own energy. If you're, Krista says, if you're shut off to the records, it may take more time to find and repair that connection. And then the blog goes on to basically just discuss different kinds of experiences, how you can prepare for getting your Akashic Records read, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Krista mentions that you can ask predictive questions as far as in reference to the future, but since we have free will, there's always a 50-50 in relation to the future. Like, there's nothing can tell you 100% sure that this is what your future will be like, And then the last question of the blog was, what are any tips for getting an Akashic reading? Krista just says, willingness, an open mind, and an open heart. And trust. You have to have trust. So yeah, those are Akashic Records. Akashic Records are just a long, long history, a long library of everything that your soul has ever gone through. Every existence, every imaginative thought, every concept, every feeling. That must be wild. The feelings aspect must be wild. But I would love it. I would love to get my Akashic Records read. Or even, I'm not going to say that. Anyway, yeah. Do you believe in Akashic Records? Are you interested in them? Would you like to experience them? Let me know in the comments. If you made it to the end of the video and you don't know me, hi. My name's Naori. Stick around, you love it here. Duh. Embrace being a star. Subscribe. Follow all my socials. Ting. I'm posting twice a week. Wednesdays and Saturdays. We up this summer, okay? Prepare for Mercury retrograde next Friday. April 21st is the first Mercury retrograde of 2023. Like, anew. So we're already in the shadow period. For me, she is already kicking, but it's okay. I'm a trooper. Anyway, wishing you love and light, love and pixie dust over all of you and all of your endeavors. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.